guys. Do you see me? Do you hear me? Something more. Please. Thank you. It's time anyways.
Hey, what is up guys? Tyler here with Secure Team. We've got a lot of interesting topics to talk about today, from some new science news, UFO sightings, and a very infamous occurrence during the Apollo moon landing missions. But first, we have this new footage here that you just saw that is hitting the web and going viral as we speak, of what appears to be a man that is, or at least looks to have the ability to summon these UFOs. So this was captured in Lansing, Michigan, and at the beginning of the video we see these 3 orbs of light just sort of sitting there in the sky in like a triangular formation. The man who is witnessing these lights is said to have, using meditation and focus, was able to call the orbs over to his area. And it would seem to work because, I mean, just as he says in the video, "Come closer," we see another light suddenly come into frame. Now, what these lights are is anyone's guess. We don't see them moving erratically. In the beginning of the clip, we see these 3 lights that are just sitting there in this formation. And we've posted a lot of videos showing these lights in similar formations. Usually they're in sets of 2s or 3s. And yeah, it's just pretty crazy that, you know, just when this guy calls another light to come closer, we see, I mean, almost as if, I mean, it's like perfect timing, more of these lights begin to show up. So, crazy footage. There's a couple different videos of this. This was posted by the YouTube channel DWC Kaufman. I will put the link to these down in the video description. Head over to his channel. You know, you can ask him questions, whatever you guys want to do. But be sure to head over and drop him a like. Pretty anomalous footage. Now, in other news, some space-related news, did you guys know that there is a giant gas cloud heading on a collision course for the Milky Way galaxy as we speak? Well, not to worry, because this enigmatic cloud that they've discovered is not going to be hitting us for another 30 million years, give or take a year or 2. Now, this giant gas cloud has always been sort of an enigma to scientists. They don't understand where it came from, what is causing it to swing around and head back into our Milky Way galaxy. Some people have said that this isn't a cloud at all, but more of a grouping of something else. Now, of course, NASA is just calling it a cloud. Basically, what they've done is they've taken observations using the Hubble Space Telescope of what is called Smith's Cloud. which according to them was cast out of the Milky Way a long time ago. The cloud was first discovered in 1963, and researchers don't fully understand the cloud's origin. But there are two leading theories. One is that it was blown out of the Milky Way, perhaps by a cluster of supernova explosions. The other theory is that Smith Cloud is an extragalactic object that has been captured by the Milky Way. And so it looks like this cloud was ejected millions, possibly billions of years ago and is now falling back home. Researchers have further said that the cloud is fragmenting and evaporating as it plows through a halo of diffuse gas surrounding our galaxy, causing it to start to fall apart. However, if enough of the cloud does survive by the time it slams back into the Milky Way, it will produce an impressive burst of star formation. Now, it's still unclear. I mean, they really don't know a lot about this cloud. They don't know why it tore away from the Milky Way disk in the first place, nor do they know how it stayed together for so long. And, you know, this is just a really cool story because it puts into perspective just how giant the universe is, our galaxy is, and how large this cloud is. This cloud is hundreds to thousands of light years across. And it's definitely going to be a sight to see when it does finally blast back through our Milky Way and we're seeing all of these new stars being created because of it. Now, an update to the recent European Mars lander that crashed to the surface recently. If you remember, we've posted a couple videos on this where the European Space Agency had sent this Mars probe that was specifically created to test for past alien life on the Martian surface. And it had arrived at the planet, it had begun its descent, and literally within a minute of landing on the ground, they completely lost the signal and had no idea what happened to the lander. It was then discovered that the lander had indeed crashed into the Martian surface, causing this massive explosion, and that basically what had happened was that the descent engines had turned off prematurely, causing this thing to free fall from about 2 miles up, smashing into the Martian surface, going at about almost 200 miles per hour. So today, we have our first color satellite images of the crash site. You're seeing that here, taken by NASA's Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter on November 1st. So this is the closest, highest resolution version that we have of the crash site, and we can definitely see this burnt black crater here, indicating just how, large of a crash and explosion after this thing finally hit the ground. Here we have some more images showing the wreckage of all of the lander, including the lander's parachute with the back heat shield still attached to it. You're seeing in this image here. And then here we have what is thought to be the front heat shield. Now, I just want to say one thing. Do you guys notice something here in this view of the crash site here? It could be something, could be nothing, but do you guys notice this little triangular formation of 3 glowing lights that seem to be surrounding this crash site? We'll go ahead and zoom in further here. And I don't know, does that look strange to you guys? I don't know. I don't know if it's just part of the crash site. Maybe these things are fires or, although I doubt there's even enough atmosphere to create a fire on Mars. So, I don't know. Just wanted to show you guys these. There has been talk that the Mars lander was sabotaged. Some have said it's NASA who is behind it, who didn't want the Europeans to be the first to discover alien life, or if they did, NASA didn't want them to make it public. It's also been theorized that something on the Martian surface caused it to crash, and that maybe these 3 lights here surrounding the crash site are part of something observing it on the Martian surface. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. I'll have to analyze this further. Now, before we end today's video, we are going to talk about the Apollo 8 mission. Now, if you don't know, the Apollo 8 moon mission was the second human spaceflight mission in the United States that was launched on December 21st, 1968. It became the first manned spacecraft to leave Earth orbit, reach the Earth's moon, orbit it, and return safely to Earth. the 3-astronaut crew, Commander Frank Borman, Command Module Pilot James Lovell, and Lunar Module Pilot William Anders, became the first humans to travel beyond low Earth orbit, the first to see Earth as a whole planet, and the first to directly see the far side of the moon. This was the very first Apollo mission, and mission anywhere for that matter, where astronauts actually got a close-up view of the lunar surface. And what they saw there has been a topic of much debate over the years. We have done countless videos on this channel where we have gone in depth into the cover-up that has been put in place surrounding just what it was that was seen and found on the moon by the Apollo astronauts who not only orbited it, but landed on its surface. We have documented various pieces of 16mm DAC film footage, Hasselblad photographs, and even the recorded transcripts from the Apollo astronauts themselves, where they had even talked about this anomalous activity, unknown craft that were seen not only on the moon, but also craft that followed them and shadowed their spacecraft for the entire endeavor. Now, what few people know is that during many of the Apollo missions, including that of the Apollo 8 mission, that there were secret code names given to these unknown objects by the astronauts. One of the most famous is that of Santa Claus. And it was during the Apollo 8 mission when we very first heard Command Module Pilot James Lovell break silence just as they exited the dark side of the moon and said this famous code word.
Apollo 8, Houston.
Apollo 8, over.
Hello, Apollo 8. Loud and clear.
Roger. Please be informed there is a Santa Claus.
That's affirmative. You're the best ones to know.
Invert status report. Invert on time. Invert time 2 minutes, 23 seconds.
Now, a few things to note here. That during this Apollo 8 mission, when these words were uttered, it was during Christmas time. However, many people have long believed that there was a hidden meaning to the phrase, "There is a Santa Claus," as this codename had been used in separate missions. It is also worth noting that the use of this phrase in the recording you just heard was completely out of place with what the astronauts went on to talk about. Once Mr. Lovell indicated that there was a Santa Claus, which Houston then affirmed, they then go on to talk about the burn status report, updating Houston with the overall status of the ship and its position. So the Santa Claus quote was very out of place. And we also have further evidence that the astronauts did witness craft on the moon and that this indeed was one of the many code names used when these craft were seen. In 1979, the former chief of NASA Communication Systems confirmed that Neil Armstrong had indeed reported seeing multiple UFOs on the rim of a crater, and that he believed that the UFOs had come from our own solar system, specifically from Titan, the moon of Saturn. He's quoted as saying, "The encounter was common knowledge in NASA, but nobody has talked about it until now. All Apollo and Gemini flights were followed, both at a distance and sometimes also quite closely, by space vehicles of extraterrestrial origin. Flying saucers or UFOs, if you want to call them by that name. Every time it occurred, the astronauts informed Mission Control, who then ordered absolute silence. I think that Walter Schirra aboard Mercury 8 was the first of the astronauts to use the code name Santa Claus to indicate the presence of flying saucers next to the space capsules. However, his announcements were barely noticed by the general public." He finished by saying that, quote, "It was a little different from when James Lovell, on board the Apollo 8 command module, came out from behind the moon and said for everyone to hear, quote, 'Please be informed that there is a Santa Claus.'" Astronaut Gordon Cooper has also testified to the United Nations Committee that the astronauts actually witnessed a UFO on the ground. We also have testimony from a very famous former NASA contractor who has also claimed that there were indeed at least 3 flying saucers on the moon during one of the NASA lunar landings. Her name is Donna Hare, and there are various videos on YouTube that you can look up where she talks about this specific incident, where she claims to have worked for a computer and engineering contractor by the name of Philco Ford during the 1970s, where she worked in NASA photo labs on and off the site of the group's headquarters. Due to her high level of security clearance, she was able to access parts of the building known as Building 8, where she came in contact with many high-ranking individuals, along with some very explosive information. She is also quoted as saying that, "I believe that there are 3 of them on the moon when they landed, and I believe that the code word for them was Santa Claus." She also indicated what was to happen to those who would ever talk publicly about what they knew, citing multiple people that she had worked with who had spoken about this activity on the moon who just, quote, disappeared. Many of the staff were threatened and forced to sign papers that they would not talk, a fear of having their pensions taken away. She also witnessed lunar photographs containing anomalous structures and craft that were then airbrushed out by NASA employees, and that they actually had a well-placed protocol specifically put in place for getting rid of UFOs found within these pictures. Since the Apollo 8 mission, and in most of the missions afterward, there have been countless sightings of this strange activity, from UFOs seen above the moon on the surface to structures and what appear to be ancient ruins on the moon. If you'd like to know more information about these specific sightings, be sure to go back in our past videos where you will find countless instances in which this strange activity has been corroborated and confirmed not only by UFO researchers, but by the very astronauts who were at the moon themselves. There is without a doubt a cover-up regarding the moon, and there is even talk of whether the moon itself is really a moon at all or something else. But that is for another video. There is still, to this day, a mountain of undiscovered lunar anomalies in both film footage and photographs, and we will publish this as we get it. If you have your own finding, be sure to send it over, and we will make it known to the public. Alright, so thanks to everyone for stopping by, and stick around because I've got a lot more coming. Stay safe, guys.